Welcome back to the Talks of Life podcast, everyone. My name is Brittany Jacobs, and I'm your host. Today's guest, we have Amanda Love.
My name's Amanda Love, and I'm a registered holistic nutritionist. It's my mission to help as many people as possible with fibromyalgia. I work specifically with those people because I was actually diagnosed with it 10 years ago. I was diagnosed in 2010. So, and I was 20 years old, and I'm 30 now. So that's when I was diagnosed. But I had the symptoms for at least 10 months beforehand, and I was sick constantly, and they just didn't know what was going on. So eventually I went to a rheumatologist who said, "Oh, you have fibromyalgia." And then that started the cycle of going from doctor to doctor with trying to figure out what to do with the fibromyalgia and not getting the answers I needed. And that's a lot of times people get put on medications, or they're told physical therapy, pain management, acupuncture, so pretty much across the board. And so then I eventually found a wellness chiropractor who tested me for different food allergies and stuff and got me on supplements. And then eventually I decided I wanted to become a nutritionist to learn about like the body, how the body works, the body systems. And so that's how I became a nutritionist.
So prior to that experience of having the symptoms, you didn't know that you were allergic to any of the things?
No, I didn't. And I think 10 years ago, it wasn't well known about gluten-free and dairy-free and stuff. It's become very popular in the last 10 years. But I think the problem is a lot of people just think they need to go gluten-free. And it might be something more. You might have to get rid of like all the food sensitivities, and you might have to do elimination diet, which is where you take out every like popular food that's like you could be allergic to, like gluten, dairy, soy, eggs, and stuff. And you might have to do that for a month or two. And then eventually, slowly, you bring back those foods. Like every 3 days, you'll bring back food like gluten, and then you see how your body reacts. It takes a long time to get out of your body those foods. So one molecule of gluten can affect you for weeks and weeks and weeks or months. And I think a lot of times people just think, well, I'm sort of going gluten-free, but you can't just go sort of. You have to go full into it if you want to see the results and stuff. So that's where I come in, is I can help you with that and be like that support person. Because a lot of times I think people don't have family members or friends who are doing it. So it's a lot of pressure to do what the family's doing. And so then that's where I could come in and help you be that support system.
Yeah, and food, it plays such a big role in our culture with friends, and family, and even strangers sometimes.
Isn't that the truth? And then we have holidays coming up and everything, and it's just like, if you're not used to living a gluten-free lifestyle or bringing your own food, you just sort of go do whatever the person says. Oh, do you want this piece of cake? Do you want this cheesecake? And you feel, a lot of times I think people just feel pressured to say yes to having that, even though they probably know it's not the greatest thing for them. And the family members don't understand that.
So with fibromyalgia, you said the gluten sensitivity, is that one of the symptoms?
Yeah, so I think personally, people with fibromyalgia, I'm sure they have at least one sensitivity. A lot of times with gluten sensitivity, you have headaches, you're fatigued, you've had the brain fog, and people with that's the main issues with people with fibromyalgia too, is that they have the fatigue, the brain fog, and stuff. So I would go through that with someone, but I wouldn't do that right away, because people need simple action steps, and that's a big thing to take. Unless you're totally like how I was at that point. I was 21 years old. I was like, I was done. I I didn't want to. I was like, I can't live like this. I'm tired of the fatigue and the brain fog and everything. So I was at that point where I was like, okay, I'm going fully in. I'm gonna do exactly what the wellness chiropractor wants. And at that point, I was like, what do I have to lose? And that's what you have to think about. And what are you gonna gain? You'll gain that time back with your family, that you could be able to enjoy your family again. I wasn't enjoying my life. I was stuck on the couch. I was so exhausted. I wasn't working. I wasn't doing any schooling. So you have to get to a point where you have to prioritize yourself. And if you don't do that, then your health's not going to get better. Whatever the health condition is, you have to make time for your health.
100%. So was there maybe one individual or a support group that you found that was helping you through these times?
Uh, no, actually, I guess I would say my family was my biggest supporter. They would do the meals with me and stuff, and do the shopping and stuff. And at this point, I'm a very driven person, so I probably would have done it without them doing it, but they were a big support system for me personally. And I think a lot of times I think people that see me, they don't have that. You have to find those people who want to support you with what you're doing with your health. And that's why sometimes it's good to hire somebody if you're struggling with certain areas of your life, because people around you, you just might not find those people. And so you might have to hire someone to do that.
Sure. So when you're saying, your family was with you with the whole food thing, was that strictly eliminating gluten or going vegan?
I have very high sensitivities, so, but I'm not celiac. But I actually have two genes that predispose me to gluten from one set from each parent, actually. And so I totally, my mom has the gluten sensitivity. I have no idea about my dad. But I also had dairy, soy, and eggs.
Mhm.
And so for me, it was just deciding, okay, I'm gonna get rid of those things. And after a while, you don't really miss them, actually, honestly. I mean, you start to get used to it, and there's definitely replacements out there for these like these things, but they're not the. I mean, sometimes they're getting better, like taste wise and stuff, but like bread and crackers and stuff like that. But you really just want to stick to like the healthy foods and stuff if you can. But of course, you're not going to do that all the time.
Comes with a real strict
Yeah.
self-discipline, huh?
Well, no, I found like good like dairy free ice cream and stuff like that. I mean, there's so much like allergy free. There's like this brand, I don't know if you've heard of it, called Enjoy Life, and it's free of like the top 9 allergens, and they have like cookies, crackers, everything. So honestly, you can do it. It just, you might just need time. And there's like so many different like recipes that are allergy free. And I'm actually with this company called Epicure, and they do a lot of their food is like gluten free, soy free, and all of that. So it's an amazing company, and they have like chocolate pudding and stuff. So it's all just a learning experience. You have to go into it just thinking, "Oh, I'm going to learn a lot, and I'm going to try this and see what I like and see what I don't like."
So when you were going through your holistic nutrition training, was that with the integrative nutrition or something else?
I did do that. That was right around the time I found the wellness chiropractor, and he was yeah, I actually worked with him for 8 months, and but I did the Institute for Integrating Nutrition. I did that program, but I didn't get the full. I don't know. I didn't learn like the body systems as much as I wanted to. I wanted to like dive deeper into topics like with my schooling as a registered holistic nutritionist. I took that like right after the Institute of Integrative Nutrition because I wanted to like do health histories that actually like dealt with, they had you do like 9 different health histories on like different health concerns. So I learned about diabetes, I learned about high blood pressure, and I learned about like supplements and stuff, and I wanted to learn more about supplements. So that was my reason for going into it.
So prior to that, I mean, they weren't necessarily sharing that importance of having, I hate to say strict diet, but in a way, a little bit more organized diet that fits your needs and doesn't, again, give you the sensitivities or reactions. And I guess,
Yeah.
was fibromyalgia ever mentioned through any of the studies, or did,
Actually, no. I have to do my like own studies and stuff for that, but I know how to like do a really detailed health history. It covered like those other health concerns that I might have, like a client deal with, like fatigue and stuff. And it went into like, okay, what foods are good for different health concerns and stuff like that. So that's why. There is actually a certification for fibromyalgia, but I didn't know about it at the time. And honestly, I've looked at it, but I don't think it would be anything new, really. And I always do my own research and stuff to see where fibromyalgia is going, what treatments are out there and stuff. But a lot of times, with the treatments are just go to your rheumatologist, your primary doctor, and a lot of times people say to me they get diagnosed. Usually they don't get diagnosed till they're like in their 50s and stuff, which is sad, and 60s. And I think they're just trying to rule out everything. And if you have other health conditions, then they'll be looking at those other health conditions and stuff. And I didn't have anything else going on with me. And then they just put you on the medications and everything that I talked about early on. But honestly, they don't really know what it is. I personally think it's an immune issue because I deal with immune issues and stuff, and I still continue to do. But I honestly think it's that. But I've had people say to me, well, my doctor says it's not an autoimmune issue, it's a neurological issue. And then I'm like, well, then why are the neurologists like diagnosing you? So I don't, I think we get so stuck on the diagnosis and like who diagnoses us that we can't see past that. And so I'm like, well, we got to see past that. Okay, you've been diagnosed. If you have fatigue, pain, and sleep, you probably have fibromyalgia. And if you've had it for 3 months or longer, you probably had it. And that's one of the ways they'll diagnose you. They'll say, well, if you've had it for this long, then you probably have it. Or they'll do like they'll touch like all these different trigger points all down your back and stuff. And if you have like 13 of the 18, they'll say, oh, you probably have it. So, or the sad thing is, they'll say if they can't find anything wrong with you, they'll say, oh, you have it. So, it's not the greatest thing. So, you have to just realize that. And if you're doing with like fatigue, pain, sleep, those are the 3 huge issues I hear all the time, then you should reach out to me because I would love to help you with that.
and beyond that, if they don't have that resource
Yeah.
available, is it best to just maybe, again, do their own like self-eliminating diet? What would you encourage for someone?
Mm, yeah, it might help, but without the supplements, I don't know. I have a supplement I recommend for like pain and fatigue and stuff, and it's not a lot. And I don't like you would get it like at your own like health store, Amazon, whatever. But it takes time and it might take years because you have to realize most people, you don't start being sick like like when you're born and stuff. It take a lot of people get sick later on in life, and so and that took years for you to get sick, super sick where you are now. So it might take a couple years. It might, but a lot of times people could feel better within a couple weeks, but there's not everything's gone away, but at least they're starting to live a life again, right? So you have to be, I think the biggest thing is being patient
Mhm.
with yourself and your body. And and we're not patient people in this time and age and stuff. So having somebody there to say, "Oh, you'll get there," and stuff, because a lot of times I think we feel like we have to do everything on our own with our health, and we don't, and just never giving up.
Completely agree. Definitely helps to have a little bit of a, again, just a support system and a
Yeah,
coach, for lack of a better word.
yeah. Someone who could say, "Why aren't you doing this?"
Mhm.
but not in a pushy way, just in a little nudge. I think it would help a lot of people, but I think the problem is people can't follow through without the help, if that makes sense.
Yeah, again, it's not something we're like trained to know how to do.
No, it's not like you're trained how to do it and stuff. So
And again, having that willingness to
yeah,
want to do it, right? It's like, okay, you're really tired of suffering and feeling like
yeah,
weak, and yeah, that's really unfortunate. And I mean, from my perspective, it almost just seems like, I don't want to say it in a negative way, but in a sense, it's like a made up
yeah,
illness or a disease because of the lack of nutrition that we can find in our food. And again, the education that we're given to
yeah,
supply ourselves with the right nutrition and understanding the whole gut and immune system correlation and the importance of eating
yeah.
good foods, you know?
I totally. There's this quote where it's the quote is all diseases begin in the gut, and I totally believe that. And I think gut health is so important, but I don't think doctors get. I've talked to people who have interviewed me, and they say, well, doctors don't get any nutrition education. They really don't. And I think a lot of times, I think we put our doctors like on a pedestal and think they should know everything about every health concern. And I'm like, well, I would love to see a point where we could get to like people just automatically like the world would know, okay, well, I'm dealing with fibromyalgia, I'm dealing with diabetes. I should go to one person who specializes in that condition
Mhm.
and stuff. So I would love to see that eventually.
I completely agree. Again, for me, it's just like getting back to the root of the problem, just like
Yeah,
when, trying to solve any problem, you try to get to the root of, okay, well, where is it all coming up from? And yeah.
yeah. That's what I try to do. Is I'm like, I'm not going to give you a quick fix. I'm not about the quick fixes. I We see that a lot on like social media and everything and stuff, and I want to be able to get to doing the health history with you so I could learn everything that you're dealing with before I recommend any like specific thing. And we might have to work on the lifestyle a little bit. We might have to work on the diet. We might have to work on supplements. But I think we need to realize it's not just one thing that fixes us, that it's a combination of things, and be open to doing the work. Because a lot of times I think people say, well, I want to get better, but then they don't follow through. And I could recommend as much suggestions as possible, but if you don't do the work, then you'll be in the same spot a year from now or 2 years from now.
So that is part of your own work. You are a coach for people who are looking for a certified nutritionist to work with.
I want people to they're looking for a nutritionist who's gone through it, because that's I feel like that's a big thing with people with fibromyalgia is that they they don't have the family, maybe the family members haven't gone through it and stuff, so I could say, well, I've been there, and I could get you to where I am now, which is living a life where I could see my niece. I have a 13-month-old niece, and like I could be able to enjoy that. I'm not wiped out. I'm not dealing with sickness. I'm not dealing with the fatigue, the pain. I could run a business. I could do these interviews and stuff. So their life doesn't have to be like mine, but they just want to be able to enjoy their family again, and not if the simple things that we all do, like go to the grocery store. People with fibromyalgia, they feel wiped out.
Mm.
They might not be able to do it. They might have to order their groceries online, or they might just be able to go out and go to a movie or go out to dinner or do stuff that people without fibromyalgia probably take for granted and stuff. So that's where I come in, is I want to get them to a point in their lives where they feel like they're living again.
It does take time, and what you're
Yeah.
kind of saying earlier, like, I think it's a millennial issue at this point, but instant gratification. We kind of, want it just to be fixed by tomorrow or next week.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a millennial thing. I think it's any age. I think any age I've noticed. I mean, I talk to people in their 50s, 60s, and I feel like it's whatever age. It's not just our age. I think it's just a culture, and I think it's just how our world is now. And hopefully we're learning now to, in the past 6 months, to like slow down, take care of ourselves more and stuff, because that's really important, especially during this time.
When did the interest in starting your website and your ebook and the podcast all come to fruition?
So with the podcast, I actually was like, okay, this was back in last year, early last year. I was looking to be on get a guest on podcasts, and I'm like, well, I don't see any. I mean, there's podcasts that have like one or two interviews, or there'd be a podcast that was like 4 or 5 years old that had a little bit of fibromyalgia, but it wasn't like they were consistent, or it wasn't around anymore. And I was like, well, this is a good point to start my own podcast. I love learning and stuff. So I was like, okay, I'll do this. I decided to do it, and within like a month, I had like 3 or 4 podcast episodes out. So my podcast came out in May of 2019, so it's over a year now, and it has my story. It has, which is episode 2. I talk about sleep in episode 5, because that's a big issue with people with fibromyalgia. And so I cover a variety of health issues, and I relate it all back to fibromyalgia and stuff. And it's just something fun to do. And I also love doing it because they can find it later on, if that makes sense. Like, I don't always have to be like creating new content, and I could share it on social media and stuff. And somebody might find me today, and they have all those 27 episodes to go back to and look at. And then with my website, I was like, I've had my website for several years now, and I was like, oh, I just need something that looks professional, that looks good, that people could go to, and where they could sign up and book like their free 45-minute phone call to see if they would like to work with me. And so that's where that came in.
Can you share the podcast name in your website?
Oh, yeah. So my podcast is Fibromyalgia Real Solutions with Amanda Love. And then my website is amandaleaselove.com. It's my full name.
So if anybody is interested in looking for some help with some real solutions to helping their health and gut, of course, during these crazy times, Amanda's your go-to, huh?
Yeah.
Do you have a lot of clients at the moment, or have you found that more people are interested in learning more about these options?
Yeah, I think right now people are super focused on their health, and they might have a little more time in their schedules. I've found,
Mhm.
maybe just because people are working from home or whatever, they just feel like they need to make this time a priority. So
Yeah, I mean, I know everything's slowed down for me, and it's yeah, taking the time to. I mean, again, that really the disconnection that we've created for ourselves through
yeah,
this rat race of yeah, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, go, go, go. Constantly maybe doing fast food or just
yeah,
frozen food, just some,
yeah,
just not so, the best food that we can really be nourishing our bodies with. And definitely something that I've put more time and effort into trying to provide myself with better, um, just more fruits and vegetables.
yeah. We're all individual. I think what works for some people works might work, and then for others it won't work. So you have to try, you have to keep trying things and figuring out what works for your body. When you're born and stuff, it take a lot of people get sick later on in life, and that took years for you to get sick, super sick where you are now. So it might take a couple years, it might, but a lot of times people could feel better within a couple weeks, but there's not everything's gone away, but at least they're starting to live a life again, right? So you have to be, I think the biggest thing is being patient
Mhm.
with yourself and your body. And we're not patient people in this time and age and stuff. So having somebody there to say, oh, you'll get there. Because a lot of times I think we feel like we have to do everything on our own with our health, and we don't. And just never giving up.
Completely agree. Definitely helps to have a little bit of a, again, just a support system and a
Yeah,
coach, for lack of better word.
yeah. Someone who could say, "Why aren't you doing this?"
Mhm.
But not in a pushy way, just in a little nudge. Improving your health is a big thing, and I would love for you to reach out, and either through social media or my website, because I'm really wanting to work with you. We have to make our health a priority, especially during this time and age. So reach out.
Well, thank you, Amanda. I really appreciate your time today, and yeah, look forward to just providing people with more solutions
Yeah,
to better health and nutrition, and just again educating people on a scale that they can come back to this information on Spotify or YouTube, wherever they
yeah.
listen it from, and yeah, find a little bit of useful information to help them.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Well, I wish you the best of luck, and here's a friend to talk to if you ever need one.
Oh, thank you.
Amanda, it's a
Appreciate
pleasure
it.
to meet you. Thanks again for reaching out.